winners, and then taking out a huge trio immediately here at the start of match 2.
And that may be what they needed to set them up for Surge as well into that early portion of it, right? You get eliminations off of spawn, you're able to get all of the maximum amount of damage as well. That's a good amount of Surge into total pool there, as Olaf unfortunately going to fall there to Slick. Falconer trying to get in, and it seems like Falconer is always fighting at Lazy Lake. Shots will connect there, and oh my gosh, that aim from Falconer. Honestly, playing a little bit, there we go, I was going to say, unfortunately, not to the best of their ability there with the loot that they have. They trade one out, 40 are going to go down. Falconer going to be the only one. They're not only one. K-Nox is there. They're going to be able to make this happen. But yeah, that harpoon immediately came out. Could have gone in with it there. Prevented a lot of this from happening. The shots together, they're fighting well together. And no, all of a sudden out of nowhere, Ordeps is in the box. He's got 1 HP.
It was one more than he needed right there. Able to pick it up as we're going to get a replay of what went down over in Craggy Cliffs. We followed this in match number 1, but Chicanita able to get the drop there. We swing back on over, and you can see Ordep's going to be able to pop plenty of shields. Needs to find some white heals, and Combat is going to get Zays back on up on his feet. Combat being the one to pick up all 3 of those first eliminations, also rocking the brand new Naruto skin, so big fan going through there. Love all of those and everyone that ended up putting the work together on it. Seriously, the Epic artist did such a great job on that outfit. Now you can see the rotation coming through, because that's one thing you have to feel a little bit weird, right? If in match number 1 you're uncontested, then all of a sudden another team flies over and then you just immediately clean it up. Like, if you're the team who's contesting over there, you're 40R Storm and like Falconer, what's your game plan now for match number 3? Are you going back to Lazy Lake? Or are you going back to Caddy Corner? Like, what's the deal?
It's a hard one. It's gonna come down to whoever they think they were closer at getting the eliminations on it. It looked like it was closer at Lazy, but the problem with fighting at Lazy is when you make that first move, if you don't get one of those players down, it doesn't matter. If you trade out a player, that team that initiated is going to be in even more of an awkward spot. Is Feetboy going to get 2 downs there in the feed? Jorito and Quito going to fall over, though. We see Dirty Docks, Corny Crops, and Believer Beach, some of our power trios, if you will. Feetboy going to be traded back out, though, in the feed. Moving over to Epic Whale, Arkram, and Reed. That Axel Champions looking so good on, of course, the 5-time. Can to pick up it here? Would it be kind? I don't want to say the redemption, because they never really had like, right, losing there last season didn't really mean that much in the grand scheme of things for them, because they're so accomplished. But you know they want to have this title under their belt. You know they want it.
I mean, and on top of that, too, there's just under $400,000 on the line in prize money. I mean, they want the prize money as well. They want the title. They want the wins. I know you can see it in Epic Whale's name. He prides himself on how many times he's won that Axe of Champions, and you can see Glace going to be able to pick up the Elan there. And honestly, they need to get Feetboy back up on his feet and get him rebooted, because Feetboy has been the one putting the work in for this team, already having 2 eliminations off of the initial fight here. But as we see, keeping an eye on the bottom right-hand corner, somebody seems to have smelled that the caddy corner is a little bit free, and they're going to be rotating through there. We're going to swing back on over to Craggy. You can see Elige, Slick, and Chicken. Despite already picking up an elimination, there's 3 eliminations. There's still one other trio who's closing the gap over here. So it's kind of weird how each one of our trios, despite being able to win a fight, then immediately bog down into another one. But that's tend to be how Fortnite plays out, right? You hear some shots on the side, just think, hey, let's go check it out. Maybe some free eliminations. But luckily for the West here, a lot of these fights resolving faster than normally we would see.
But unfortunately, because Chicanita is so far away, they're not going to be able to impact this fight the same way they would have wanted as Wale. To see how Feetboy ended up going down there, just the triple headshot. That is unfortunate. That happens so rarely in normal Fortnite, but in competitive Fortnite, if you show even just a little bit there, they are going to find an angle to get all this damage off. And while Chicanita wasn't able to impact the fight, look at the damage that Elige and Slick already did. They are already so weak down below, and that's why the pressure is continuing to come through from Chicanita, because he knows as soon as they can heal up, as soon as they have that opportunity, it's going to be that much harder for them as a duo to win this fight. They go in, it seems like they may have grabbed the card. I don't think they did, but they're backing up. They won that legendary AR, and they are good to disengage. A pepper or spicy fish was popped, and they're out.
I think they managed to pick up both the card and that legendary AR. That would be the only reason I would have outright disengaged that fight. I'd be shocked if they didn't end up getting both, particularly with how in zone they are. This is a very, very northern pole of the zone. You can see that based on the bottom right-hand side, Craggy, while being on the interior. A lot of that ocean is, and once you get all the way to the outside, it's actually really difficult to disengage in this situation if you don't have a boat. You think like, oh yeah, you can just swim forever, but that's not necessarily going to be the case. It's really hard to break the line of sight. We already have a team hanging out already on that Boom Island towards the northern side there. You can see it's just such a tough situation. Player already ramping on top of him, white damage coming through, and what should have been probably a comfortable 2v3 to take if they continue the pressure. They try and do the quote-unquote smart thing and disengage and play safe, and unfortunately not quite going to pay out as Defiable is going to shake him down for his lunch money in the positioning of the other teammate, and going to get the Siphon, maximize as much as the Storm Surge damage, and him, Kabu, and Sauko, they're going to feel really good about that. That's 2 eliminations. They have priority position on the zone. They get all the loot that comes from that, and they should be okay in terms of Storm Surge.
And that's one of the best things. Again, we mentioned it last game. Anytime you can get easy guaranteed damage, and of course it's not easy. None of this is easy for any of these players. Everybody they're playing against is so good. But the easiest Storm Surge damage to get is when you are contested off of spawn, and that is where they're finding success, and that's where some of these trios that we're watching do find success. Notch with that mythic first rifle in the inventory, rather G5RC with Notch there and Antorex. I want to see their Storm Surge. I want to see them above it. Looking through their inventory though, their wide heels are not the best, and oh no, that happens whenever you try to build a stair there. You'll go right through it because you go so fast with that vehicle that you just go underneath it and you get stuck, and they don't really have the heals to get stuck there. They do have a couple chug splashes on Antrax, but that was just unfortunate.
Yeah, you have to actually recognize the fact that you need to slow down a little bit in that IO car. They will go too fast for the build to end up completing before the car is already intersecting it, but they will be able to get under the campfire and help mitigate some of the situations. Now, don't forget, you cannot relight that. They will be able to stoke it out, though, be able to put some investment of their wood to get back in the effective HP category, and honestly, it's a worthwhile trade. They'll get enough space. They feel like they should be comfortable on Surge. Otherwise, I feel like there'd be a little bit more of a sense of urgency in terms of rotating because they do have the chug splashes, but they're just chilling right now as we swing on over. Counterlogic Gaming, Symmetrical, 33 Wibby Jacob, and Temple B. They're posted up looking for some potential tags. They do have a team just a little bit to the south of them doing the same thing, though.
And this is okay because the rotation, they have many options for rotation. They can go down the water to Craggy, they can go straight across if they want to. They don't really have to worry about the team right next to them really interfering with any rotation, and they've even got priority on the Pleasant Park Bridge, so they're fine moving over to Snacky, Favs, and Rex this time around. Usually that Reet there, but again, they've swapped it up. If you're just joining us, they have changed. Essentially, won the first and second place from last FNCS, swapped one member of each trio, and now they are here as... See, just look at what they've set up. They've got maximum number of chug splashes in the inventory. Yes, they used a little bit there, but it seems like they have 4 down somewhere. Okay, no, going for that IO vehicle just to rotate all the way through. And again, talk about over-indexing on heals with Epic Whale. I mean, that was over-indexing if I've ever seen it.
I mean, as we immediately swing on over, 4 floppers, 3 chug splashes, 4 minis, and a partridge and a pear tree. I wouldn't be surprised if we had one of those hanging out there as they're just trying to farm up whatever they can. You notice how they are a little bit lower on wood. Teams are often prioritizing getting the hard mats early on and then making sure you reform as much wood as possible because it is the most readily available material on the map. But right now, particularly as we did just get a little look in the bottom right-hand corner, the zone is pulling really far to the north yet again. So it's north and then northwest in terms of the first 2 pulls. So a lot of these teams and the playmakers who normally be moving around the map and picking up elimination, zone dropped directly on top of their head. So a little bit of a slower pace match, not quite as slow as match number 1, but still can expect Storm Surge to kind of be the next round of action here. Trios currently who will be pressed under it. 5 trios have been eliminated. 4 more will need to go down before the first round of placement points are given out.
Look at how congested that area is, and even outside of the area we're just in, look how congested it is, but Snacky, Favs, and Rex decide they're gonna rotate away from Pleasant, go for that drop. Only 66 damage above. Now 45, now 44. They're falling down quickly. Now 24. They're disengaging what I thought was the drop, but look at this build they've already made. It seems like, oh no, someone else made it for him, and they're going for positioning over tags right now. Because they're above, do they have enough ability to find the tags now? Yes, but look at how much damage Snacky just took.
Where did he take that damage from? He must have poked his head out, and that must have been one of the semi-auto suppressed snipers just ripping him to shreds, because he was relatively healthy before that. You can see 44 damage, not quite going to be enough, but Rex going to add to it, something he does incredibly well, and they actually might look to get busy here. Those are some chili chug splashes popped, and they're closing the gap. You can see them walling off towards the other side, and they're trying to get wall-to-wall with this trio. That's Aiden, Aratusaki, and Nigel on the other side. And Babs, they're going in. They're going forward. 46, 46, 31. They're going to find one knock. Will they be able to find the second? They will section that teammate off, but they're just going forward. Babs does not care. He says, hey, forward we go. Nope, instead, they feel like they got enough. 312 above. And like we talked about, they're able to not only push that team off the loot from a previous fight, but also section off the player, get the body shots into the headshots for the maximum storm surge damage, and they're going to feel really good. That was a well-executed push.
That's what you want to see. That's what you hope to execute on it. Ooh, I like this play. I like having Richard Quinn there just by himself in the builds and two players in the bush to maximize those angles that you can get and minimize the amount of builds that you are using. And the trio rotating in is going to be tagged up a little bit by them, it seems like, but not that many shots are hitting. They're 185 above. And as many people know, if you're running from the zone, you usually aren't above surge. You've got to keep that momentum going forward, and you don't have time to stop for it, as maybe Jacob, Nitrix, Eco, all going to go down the feed.
Fikoi also going down there, so a lot of our top trios all of a sudden in a little bit of interactions going down now. We'd love to see what's going on with those trios as we swing on over to our match one winners. 534 above, despite only having one elimination, so they are totally fine. Definitely want to see what is happening with the one team who is under Storm Surge, or with Wavy Jacob and his trios. They were in an engagement on that side. We do still see that there's still one player who needs to go down before Surge turns off. One more trio will need to drop before those first 5 placement points end up going out. You still see in the top left-hand corner 71 and 25 players and trios remaining respectively. Clips, Poffy, Cyrazer. Look for a little bit of space here over on the side of Stealthy Stronghold. Don't forget, you cannot knock down those walls, so when the buildings end up going, or when the zone ends up going back and forth over the top of it, it really ends up being a hard investment in mats. And Trax Knots and G5RC getting one of those super high valuable boulders. I think that ends up being like 90 to 110 brick or so, depending on the size going off there. And as we see 2 players go down, Storm Surge turns off, and everyone gets 5 points.
And they may turn back on, knowing who has done their reboots. We'll see if anyone come through. And as I say that, we've got a reboot that just came through, back up to 70, back down to 69. See if we'll get another reboot here in a moment. It may have enough time because that reboot van timer did get shortened on how quickly it does refresh. So we do see Baka and Kytrix falling. G5RC gets shot at but takes no shots. 197 effective HP. They're in zone, and they're not in the best spot because of the team above them looking in. But in all reality, it's a lot better than some of these other teams that are just now rotating in.
And right now, Snacky and Favs, 2 eliminations to their name, and they have a great area because right underneath this crash site, you can see their entire side is just blocked off, really covering them from the rest of the lobby and allowing them to kind of pick and choose which one of these teams they want to return shots at. A little bit of a slow reset there from Rex. We're only going to take what I believe was 1 headshot worth of damage there, so not too bad going through. We'll see. Everyone just kind of chilling right now, battling for space. This 4th zone's going to be really awkward, honestly, Clay, because if it pulls anywhere other than the southern part of the map, there's going to be a ton of movement.
I'm going to say it's going to go northwest here, right up towards Stealthy.
You're a devil.
It does.
You're a devil.
It does. I wanted to see everybody struggle with that movement. And immediately, the peppers are popped. Rex, Snacky, and Fab say, no thank you, Clay. I want to get into zone as quick as possible. And honestly, they're not getting shot at all.
You know, sometimes you just get to have a nice leisurely stroll right through the middle of the zone, and if you time it correctly, everyone else is looking the wrong direction. That was the top part of your screen. Bottom right-hand corner, Epic Whale, Arkham, and Reet currently only sitting on 10 points. You can see, again, not necessarily the strongest of loadout, but over-index on heals, something we've talked about before with this trio, and they're really looking to get an ambush. But my question is where... Okay, Arkham's over on the left-hand side, already kind of knocking them in towards zone, making sure he has a tarp on that side, and it's uncontested. So they have that covered out, potentially looking to catch somebody on this rotation, but you have to imagine somebody checks that bush, right?
Yeah, they have to see it. There's not going to be 2 free rotations just like that. They're over-indexed on heals as well. 3 med kits, 10 minis here on G5RC, but they're able to sneak their way into zone unscathed, able to farm back all the materials that they use to rotate in, and they get in just fine.
Yeah, now don't forget, in this 4th zone, you can anticipate that all of the trios will be just tucked around the outside, because 5th will be that half in, half out, so no longer pulling inside the previous safe zone. It's all competitive. We get into the moving circles after the fact, so kind of was the transition into the mid in the late game. As you can see, G5RC trying to find some shots, not necessarily getting it. They're leaving these walls open relatively long too, but there's no trade coming out as Epic Whale is then able to pick up a knock in the feed. So that was the ambush we were talking about, able to manufacture themselves elimination, as we see on the right-hand side. 8 damage below currently for Notch, Antrax, and G5RC. They got 25 seconds to figure that out before the 25 damage every 5 seconds comes through from the Storm Surge as J Combat ends up going down. Arkham will get the finish there onto Perovencha. Nico will get Wavy Jacob, so he's going down. Salco also gets picked up by Frap Eyes, so lots of big names right now currently being impacted on the leaderboard one way or another. Our match number 1 winner, Cyrus, are going to find a knock onto Nico, and honestly, Antrax, Nos, and G5RC, they have to get going. This Kenshin Co. right on the other side as we swing over. This is Rex, Snacky, and Fabs. 395 above. Snacky able to find a knock onto Zenlush down there. Uchicha able to pick up J-Combat and or Depths. Nico also finally getting converted on. Savarsky will go down to G5RC. Gets the confirmation over there. Rich Homie Coin also picking it up as we have 2 trios currently being threatened by Storm Surge, but they're dropping quickly.
Indeed. I thought we'd see a little bit more resistance in the number of players, but as you say that, it's already down to 51. Only 1 more player will need to fall, and with G5RC getting knocked, I think that may be the one that takes it over to turning the Surge off. This team looking so good today, but my question is, can they keep looking good? And they're 8th place coming in, I believe, after all the points updating as well. 12 points for Arkham, Epic Whale, and 180 above. This is great to see. They haven't really had that big of an issue with it in the moving zones before, but it's before the moving zones where it hurts them. But leading all players with 112 elims in NA West Finals this year, the only NA West player over 100 total elims. So you can see why it's a valuable asset to have Reed on your team.
Yeah, particularly in the finals when we talk about how all the points being doubled tomorrow. Well, that means those eliminations, hey, that's 4 points a pop if you're able to convert. And sometimes Reet can just be let off of his leash and he just hungry hippos all of those points up. I mean, we've seen him just pick up trios like it was absolutely nothing. But we've also seen it go the opposite way. So I'll be very interested to see with the limited amount of practice time, because the thing we always lauded about Epic Whale, Arkham, and Rex, right? They play together in everything, right? Like, since they had formed, it was almost every single time. It was so rare to see them, and that's what made them part of such a consistent trio. But does that dynamic change up, right? Because I know you can say, like, yeah, well, Rex was mainly kind of that pop-off player in the late game, and Reet can kind of slot right in. And I'm like, I'm not sure I necessarily agree with that situation, having watched a lot of the VOD play from both of those guys. Like, yes, they're both capable of putting up similar numbers, but they do it in very, very different ways. So that's kind of the big question mark that I want to see over in that kind of trio swap up as Arkham is able to pick up Russo, and we're going to swing on over Poppy, Cyrazer, and Eclipse. A good early launch pad into a rotation as Arkham does get the confirmation onto Russo, and we close in on our cascading placement points. So next trio going down will be +1 points all the way through as Eclipse loses the entirety of the shield.
That was a little bit greedy there. Went for the wall when it was already taken from him. I'm trying to honestly block it all on off, but they were ready for it. The edit down going to come through. Poppy taking a lot of damage. Look who's on the high ground. It's Dynamic, Rexy, and Zelho as they look to make their move. Epic, Whale, and Arkham still there. The question is, yep, that's the answer. Taking down Poppy. 2 to 3 eliminations there for them. Can they grab any of this extra loot, or no? Will they not be able to do it going back towards the northeast? They got to keep going. Got to keep moving. The thing I'm worried about with them is, can they get Reet to where he can operate like Reet can? We saw last season, it was a completely different Reet than we had ever seen. It was a Reet with so much more control, so much more prowess. They operated a lot from the high ground. That was Arkham, Epic, Well, and Rex's win condition. It seemed like every single FNCS. So can they get him up there?
Well, Reet also had prioritization on the power weaponry. So far today, we've seen him with an uncommon shotgun twice, right? I don't think I've seen him with anything higher than a green, which is another part of Epic Whale and Arkham's game plan, where it's like they don't necessarily care about what weapons they're holding, knowing that they can put that work in. Well, Reed's not necessarily that way. He is very much used to having one of those epic or legendary shotguns to kind of supplement the fact that he is so good at the game, right? When you have the strongest weapon and you are also good, it's just a natural advantage coming through. So let's see if he's able to manufacture upgrades for himself as Eclipse is completely out of builds. But that was some fantastic pathing. He found some great space for him, and Cyrazer's going to take over the front, but they were able to find some of what looks like their old builds as they're able to edit back down. And with only 4 left on the trio, I mean, it's going to be very important to find a refresh right here in these old builds.
And luckily for them, their old builds are where zone is. Both of them going to go for the medkit play, it seems like. But they have enough time, I think they do. Cyrazer will be able to get it off. Regulator, Moni, G5RC, all going to go down or get knocked into capacity. Arkham going to be one of those players that did it. Both medkits going to come off. That's going to be 10 seconds off. No, it's over behind. Shots through. Eclipse is going to go down. They both get taken down. Both eliminations going to go over. Arkham, I think, going to be the one to do it, and it was 4 eliminations. Arkham will now have to operate solo. His entire team going to go down. He goes back. He knows where Epic Well's body is. Can he find any of the floppers? Yes, he did. 3 floppers there. Chug splashers as well. You talked about over-indexing. You talked about having an abundance of heals, where here it is. Here's where it's going to pay off. It's got to get in the zone. It's moving further and further away. Did he waste too much time in the zone? And I think he did. He waited to try to find him, unless he's got a launch pad, unless he can maybe dash his way on up here. Shot's going to go through on the high ground. He does get in his zone, but no, he steps back in, trying to go for it, and goes down to it.
And was unable to pick up the medkits on the backside, and you see Snacky able to pick up a huge knock there on the low ground. Snacky, we talked about him doing it all in the last game. Well, he's doing it all right here now. Yet again, 6 elims to himself, 9 across the trio. They have full control on the low ground. They're going to drop him down, and instantly Snacky takes the brunt of the damage there with the harpoon dropping it, but he should be able to get shields back off. This will put him in a position where he's going to be the one to look to trade and knock the players down. We have a 3v2v1 situation coming out here as the player will get dropped down. Snacky ends up being taken out. Won the Swanton Bomb from the high ground, but Favs able to pick up Ritomi Quinn. He's able to get back towards the zone. No time to pick up the medkit unless he gets splashed, so Favs will find Zello towards the bottom part. 11 eliminations and the victory royale for your 2 out of 3 defending champs. 33 Favs, 33 Snacky, and the new addition of 100 Thieves, Rex, taking match number 2.
And it seems like all they gotta do is give Snacky the good guns, and look at the shots he's gonna find. That was a beautiful one there. Ended up finding the player as they were sprayed down. Actually, they ended up going to the zone, so it could have been 7 eliminations there onto Snacky. But name of the game for them is give him the good weapons and let him pop off and just get to endgame.
And what really impressed me there was their control, the way they were able to work together on the low ground, call out the targets. And when Snacky did end up getting traded out, it was no problem because you were still in a situation where it's a 2v2v1 and you had priority. Brilliant job on them closing out the victory royale. We're going to ship it back on over the desk so they can break down match number 2.
Hey, production, can you guys go ahead and change my prediction? Oh my gosh! Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's great to be back. It's Zeke, your boy. Hi, everybody. Okay, Kelly, first words here. Rex, Snacky Fab, first place, 11 eliminations.
I mean, look at that, 78 points total right now. Actually, I'm almost more impressed by Poppy Sizer and Eclipse right there, standing strong with that one VR they got in game number 1. Had another good performance in game number 2, but my goodness, Snacky just playing out of his mind on the low ground right there, grabbing 11 eliminations. Snacky grabbing the bulk of all of those. But I think, honestly, Panda, the competition's kind of close, 1st through 7th place.
This is probably some of the closest action we've seen in recent times, right? Especially on this region where we've seen players become so dominant in day number 1, break away in the first 3 games, but we're not seeing that here. We're seeing a lot more consistency from these players, and that speaks to the skill ceiling that is continually changing here on the West Coast. But there's a lot of stuff we got to break down in that game.
I mean, you know, of course we would have to talk about Rex and Snacky and eliminations and their pop-off performances. Why wouldn't we? They come out super strong.
Yeah, they had a good start just from the beginning. I think they grabbed a first few of their eliminations from Zone 2 right here as we're watching it. They were kind of close to threshold, which was surprising me, but as you can see right here, now they're going drastically above the threshold and pretty much just staying consistent throughout the entire game.
Yeah, and that's what they're so good at, right? They know how to get surge tags, and this is kind of what elevates them above Arcrum, Epic Whale, and Reet sometimes, is that they are a better team when it comes to getting surge. We see Epic Whale, Arcrum, and Reet struggling to get those surge tags early, which ultimately affects their game, and now that's why we see Rex, Fabs, and Snacky excelling. You see them in these final moments, comfortable in these final moments, and ultimately in this game, walking away with a beautiful VR.
Just incredible awareness from this team right here. You can see that they're on the low ground. Pretty much no other team is trying to contest them on the low ground. As soon as anyone drops, they are fully aware of where that person is. You can kind of see actually how they're all looking around in all directions at all times. Just the awareness and patience that this team has. Instead of trying to steal height, instead of trying to break into a box, they just wait for everyone to fall into their trap. And that's exactly what happened here. An incredible performance, walking away with 11 eliminations in that game too.
So good, so strong, and that was just we're going to jump aboard the battle bus in just a moment. First, I'd really quickly like to touch on predictions one more time to remind everybody at home what the predictions do look like. As you can see here, I am Rex, Snacky, and Fab. Kelly and everybody else is Epic Whale, Arkham, and Reet. Thank you so much, production. Production, have a backup to my backup. Yeah, absolutely great stuff all overall. Kelly taking this much better than I thought she would. Great stuff. 30 seconds before we go in. I like that Clay kind of called out. You give Snacky the weapons, and he's going to kind of take the brunt of the action. I love that, right? I love that he was the one putting himself in harm's way. He was like, look, I already got 6 eliminations, right? If this guy drops how many domes me, which did happen, like, he's already done everything he needed to do. He's already paved the path for this trio. And then the rest, we're just like, cool. We'll just walk over, cross the finish line, get ourselves a victory royale. Game number 2, that seems pretty good. That seems pretty good. Production change all of our stuff. Yeah, great stuff. Anyway, 5 seconds before we jump back into all of the action, make sure you guys stick around. Remember, 6 games today, another 6 tomorrow, as well as double points. So it's all about how high we can place here in day number 1. Aboard the battle bus once more. Play Sundown.
Thank you so much, Kelly and Panda. No, thank you, Zeke. I mean, come on. Like, we know Kelly's doing the right thing in terms of the prediction. She's put her homework up there. Let's at least let her keep her pick. You can do whatever you want with yours as we hop on into the halfway point. 2 matches down. What are you looking at here in match number 3, Clay?
I am looking at these teams that are close to getting to the performances that they want, the ones that are getting to that top 5 and just falling a little bit short. I'm looking to see what Arkham, Epic Whale, and Reek can do to really round out this team, because you see the makings, it's there, but they just haven't polished it out enough. And again, reminder, as long as you're in a good enough spot today, tomorrow is a whole different ball game that we haven't seen before.
Right, we've talked about it a little bit in terms of the points available tomorrow. Well, honestly, a lot of it at this point, right? We're going down to the 2 times multiplier, which means Victory Royale is worth 60 points, eliminations worth 4 points. Slickylon actually going to be the first one to get taken down there right off the start. just ends up taking a little bit of fall damage. You can see Dragon will pick up cool right away. Rich Homie Quinn also going down. So on the unfortunate side of that trade, as Falconer will be sticking it out here over in Lazy Lake. Cuddy picks up a Pulsar, Batman Booga. Day gets the finish over onto Wave, and 40R Storm has that epic lever action shotgun right off of the start. I mean, if you can get wall to wall with that, that thing rips early.
It really does. And the new pistol, right, so good as well with the follow-up. We've always talked about the pistols in the past, and now, honestly, I think this one's just a little bit more in favor of those fights at the earlier stages before it really had to have been one of those epic or legendary ones. But now it can put up a lot of damage very quickly. As Jagvier, unfortunately, going to go down there. Drew going to take him. Squishy now going to fall there to Chip. 40R, Falconer, and Knox. Again, they are trying to be the ones that make the move first, but I like that they're not going into these buildings, and as I say that, as I'm setting up, they're dropping into a building. I like to see them figure out where everybody is before they dive in and make that decision.
Yeah, kind of play around the rooftops, get information. As you can see, Pulsar Chip going to pick up the full E-limit there. Yumi also picking up a knock onto Rex as the teams over at Lazy Lake just kind of poke and prod, trading back whatever Storm Surge damage they can get their hands on. Nobody necessarily wanting to commit too much because, again, Lazy Lake not necessarily known for its abundance of resources, right? You don't want to get bogged down in a fight early on because, again, you're just kind of swinging at these like plus 10, plus 20 brick walls, right? And it just doesn't add up. It's not a good use of your time. And Falconer instead, he says, nope, I'm going to hop in the truck and I'm going to close the gap. He drives it right on into their backyard and says, surprise, where's the party? Here it is.
Not able to find the damage, though. 40R going to take a big chunk of it himself. They paused for a brief moment, and we talked about how 40R had such great loadout. But look at Falconer's. It's common all around, except for that AR, that burst AR in the inventory, just to give him a little bit of extra swappage there if they want to swap over. They don't want to reload one of those weapons, but 40R trying to find an angle, but seems a little bit lost there for a moment. Is going to find everybody running through, but doesn't go for the shot. Look at that charge. And oh no, the Fireflies from the other team actually going to cause them a little bit more chaos there. Ordef's going to go down. Falconer going to be the one to do it. The entire team is burning down below. 40R now going to hit the shots with that charge. It doesn't matter if this player's running away. There we go. That's what we like to see from Falconer, Knox, and 40R Storm. Seems like Lazy Lake sticking there was the correct choice for them as they take all the eliminations away.
I mean, it helps that 40R Storm ended up rolling that epic lever action and then getting the side grade over into that charge right away. The charge just so devastating if you can find kind of that 2 to 3 box limit, as we do get a replay of some of those early game fights that we miss. Olaf getting the cleanup over on this side. We do see Rachel Quinn getting taken down over on the other side, and we're going to swing back on over to, again, the secondary fight over in Craggy Cliffs where Salco, Kabu trying to close in the gap, and Elige is just running for the hills.
It seems like, once again, at what point in the 12-game tournament, with the last 6 being double, do you decide, I'm not landing here anymore? Is it in the 4th game? Is it in the back half of the first 6?
If I'm these teams and I'm struggling at my drop spot, if I have a secondary one that we've practiced before, I'm probably going to look to hit that up in maybe game like 5 or 6 if the first 4 are rough, knowing that, like, yes, while there is still time, like, you need to figure out your game plan before tomorrow. The benefit is, of course, you can go in, you can VOD review, you can find out kind of where the empty spots are on the map, or maybe there's a trio you think you match up favorably with, right? And try and find some space and make plays on day number 2. And if you're able to win those initial fights, right? Like, yeah, 6 points doesn't sound like a lot right now, but that's 12 points tomorrow. Right? So if you're able to kind of get those engagements that you want to be taken, you're able to isolate some of these early fights like we saw over in EU last FNCS, a little bit with Cammy, Sunny, and Teak, how they were kind of post up. Legendary Bird, it looks like it is going to go over to the northern side team, and Defiable & Co. have so much extra loot here. Jesus.
Oh my gosh. Everybody seemed to be stacked here for them. They didn't even know what to pick up. At the legendary suppressed sniper rifle. This will be source of a lot of their storm surge damage coming through. And a quick replay for everybody about how things ended up taking down. Oh, what a shot. Is he about to 1v2 this right here? Maybe even a 1v3. No. Unfortunately, was not able to do so. They go down. But what a shot there to start that off. We're back over to Lazy Lake G4 RC, rather. Antrax and Notch. Back. New Falconer Company, but I don't think they want this. They realize, you know what? No. Lazy Lake's not the place for us to fight. We're going to keep disengaging and getting out of there, but you can only run so far when you only have 25 builds.
And G5RC took a ton of damage there, so did Notch, and if they are able to kind of get in the semi-truck and just drive away, it offers a ton of protection, but notice how there's only 2 seats in that thing, right? They are missing a teammate on the opposite side, so while Antrax and G5RC are trying to disengage, Notch is like, what about you guys? Help! Hey, it's okay. I'll meet up with you later. I'm on the road. It's fine. As we swing on over. 100 Thieves Rex, 33 Snacky, and Favs currently sitting in first place. 2 out of 3 defending champs, and everyone knows all about Rex as we have yet another Northern pull. That's back-to-back here in games number 2 and 3.
Ooh. I was saying it's going to Coral Castle. Listen, I was the evil one earlier. I'm going to say it again. It's going to go to Coral. And everyone's going to have massive elevation changes, water zones. I'm ready to see it. A leaderboard update, though. Overall, it's going to be Rex, Favs, and Snacky taking the lead with 78 total points. Again, a reminder, if this was tomorrow, it'd be 156 total points that they would have had, of course, just over these first couple games.
Right, and if you're trying to think how to rationalize it, we've talked about it a little bit before at the start of the show. You might think, well, double the points tomorrow, doesn't that just make the first day useless? No, not at all, because you're still playing a third of the available points going through, right? So yes, there's 2/3 available tomorrow. Your performances tomorrow matter more, but you can still set yourself up for success, right? And you can feel these other trios out, try and figure out where the room is on the map, who you're able to push, which one of your Storm Surge rotations makes sense. And honestly, I think it's a little bit more exciting, at least for me as a caster and observer, because the teams who are able to adapt and execute a game plan and look at the wealth of information that's available to them, not only in their region and the VODs that they end up going through, but over the course of the other regions, which is why I enjoy watching NA West so much, right? Like, we get to see what happens in the other 6 regions before we even finally get here, and some of those little adaptations end up creeping in.
And that's what we get to see over those 12 games, right? It's those little small micro adaptations that you make, whether it be on where you rotate to, or if you're rotating this way versus that way, if you're finding tags here versus there, and also how other players are rotating as well. That's what's so intriguing about Fortnite. It's this big game of multiple different chessboards and multiple different chess games happening at the exact